It's not Mike's fault.
What's up, people? I was only at NAMM for about 2 hours today, but I amassed a plethora of footage, so much so that we need to get going, otherwise YouTube will cut me off before I'm done. I went down in the basement and I checked out this thing called Hermit Cab. I've seen stuff like this before, but this was still pretty cool. It's a great idea if you're a touring musician that doesn't need stage volume because you're getting everything off your monitors. This keeps everything under control, and I wouldn't mind having a couple for school. They would be very useful. And here's a road case version of the same thing that doesn't need to look pretty on stage. Then I went and saw Reverend. Their stuff is always great. Slight skew on the classic designs, but still very tasteful and very gorgeous. Plus they play good and they sound great, and they're kind of a neat thing to have. I've had a few friends with them. Me, I don't have that kind of dough. It's a lot cheaper than installing one in your guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's the tuner from Tuner-Matic. It's also not a new idea, but if you have to tune on a loud stage, that would be the quickest way to get that done. And there's this thing called Ugly Amp. I don't see how there's anything particularly ugly about it. Looks pretty good to me. Then I saw some software by this company that basically you can like scan in sheet music if you have it, or charts that you've made, and basically put little cues in there so that when you play along on stage later with your netbook or whatever, it kind of keeps in time with maybe a pre-existing backing track or an MP3 or something like that. Kind of neat for people that play all the time and need to read charts. Okay, and in the ever-popular folding guitar category, usually a very stupid idea, this guy seems to have come up with a way to do it that's not terribly silly. I don't know how much he charges for that, but basically it's a bolt-on neck that you just unbolt, and then comes a little piece of rubber that you stick in there, and you bolt it back down into the tremolo hole so that it doesn't get messed up during transit. It fits in a little tiny gig bag. It's kind of a cool idea, and it plays pretty nice. So then I went over to another company that's called Visionary Instruments and saw this, jaw-dropping craziness. They basically got an LCD panel and put it in the body of the guitar and just floated a bridge on top of the LCD, which is completely nutty. But because it's an LCD panel, there's no room for pickup, so it uses piezoelectronics. And they also put, fiber optics right down the neck, built in. There's a crazy control panel for it, and 3 different models and prototypes. Apparently they have one that you can hook up to a computer that will actually be activated by sound. Of course, the same booth had this insane guitar, bass guitar with about 50 billion strings on it. And as you know, that's lame. So, I don't know. Still going to give them props for making guitar with a TV inside. I mean, that's an idea whose time has come. Sort of. Okay, then I went over to Hofner. There's this seafoam beauty that's kind of an old style that they used to do apparently in the 60s. They're just kind of bringing it back. And it had a really gorgeous neck on the back. And Hofner was showing off a lot of cool things, as always, including this really beautiful red club bass. And they seem to be pushing the club bass pretty hard for people that don't want to be associated with Beatle bass, which is completely lame, but just the same. They're awesome guitars in their own right, regardless of the Beatle connection. I have one, and it's just the greatest thing I've ever bought. It's fantastic. And these are, every single one of them is a work of art, and they're just, I can't say enough about it. And then in the latest entry in the Pick Wars is this thing here that basically is a spring-loaded pick holder so that you can go between playing regular pick style and then finger picking style. Then we went to a company called Sta-Tuned, which had probably the coolest thing I saw all day, which was basically can make your Bigsby into a Floyd Rose, more or less. They get offended if you say that. But the most important thing you'll find out momentarily.
That's your Bigsby on the guitar.
Yep.
And so you take the handle off, take the spring off. Of course, you got the strings off.
Yep.
So then you take this, and it just drops on there like that. You don't deal with no holes,
Right over the top of the
guitar.
yeah.
You go back, and in this little set screw, all it does, you back it out, and all it does is hold it in place till you put your strings on. You turn them, and they're there.
That's
They're
great.
there. See? They go straight. They pull straight.
Oh,
they don't.
okay.
They don't bend.
They don't go around either.
No, they don't.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
it. That's it. So then you put your strings on, string your guitar up.
Yeah.
Then you take this, and you undo it. It's just two pieces. The bottom piece slides under the strings. There's still no holes on the guitar. Then you take the top piece and put on, put your four little little bolts back in there. Then you tune your guitar.
So in a nutshell, those of you who have a Bigsby know that when your string breaks in the middle of a show, you're screwed, because it's like the hardest thing to put strings on. You got to bend them around there, put them on the little peg, and apply pressure so they don't pop out. This thing alleviates all of that. And then there's also the added, thing about being able to tune it and lock the nuts down. But who cares? I just want one because it's going to be easy to string my guitar. So I am ordering one as soon as I finish this video. Okay, moving right on. I saw this cool thing called a harmonic capo, and I was like, what the heck is this thing? But it's basically a little rubber capo that basically makes harmonic tones wherever you place it. So you put it right there on the octave fret. Whenever you play an open string, you get an octave harmonic instead of the regular note from the nut, which makes for some cool combinations of sounds that you've never heard before. Then I went upstairs and looked all the way down to Korg to see one of their new keyboards, but instead I saw these amps from Vox. This one here is a 4-watt model. It comes in a small combo and a head and cab, and you can switch it from like, set 3/4 watt to 4 and back and forth if you want. Then they made this, I guess it's an AC30, but in an old style circuit that they used to do in the 50s that they never been able to figure out how to make work correctly, and now they have, and let me tell you, it is insane the sound that came out of there. And then they got this little guy, I'm not sure what the deal is, but it sounds great, and it's very tiny. It's not light, but it's small. And then of course, I was all for the last 6 months since I heard about this coming out, I've been wanting to play with this keyboard called the SV1, and I waited around till about 20 minutes after NAMM was over just to take a look at it. I didn't really get to play with it much, but it is probably the most cool keyboard I've ever seen, and it's got all the features that I would want. So it looks like Korg's going to be making a big bunch of money off of me in the near future. But maybe more on that later if I actually get a chance to play with it, because there's always a huge line and crowd around this thing. So hopefully tomorrow I will get to check that out. And some other cool stuff. So see you then. Later.
It's over.